just do a little bit of introspection, I suppose, and actually, maybe not even introspection, but outrospection, I believe it's called. The reason for this is that I decided to pull one of the Harvard Business Review books that I have. By the way, even though these are generally surrounding business, they're really great for just life lessons and kind of living life in general. So don't be put off by the fact they're a business review press. But this one is Emotional Intelligence, Authentic Leadership. And I picked this at random, because sometimes I think random, a lot of the advice and the changes we have in life are random, or seem random at the time. And so I thought it'd be cool to just pick something out, find something to read, and go with it. So today we are going to talk on a playful frame of mind. I think this is something that actually might help me a lot, as much as it might help you. So let's read. Such a rigid self-concept can result from too much introspection. When we look only within for answers, we inadvertently reinforce old ways of seeing the world and outdated views of ourselves, without the benefit of what I call outsight, the valuable external perspective we get from experimenting with new behaviours. It says leadership behaviours, but I'm trying to sanitize the language for just more general discussion. Habitual patterns of thought and action fence us in. To begin thinking like people, again, because it says leaders, we must first act, plunge ourselves into new projects and activities, interact with very different kinds of people, and experiment with new ways of getting things done. Especially in times of transition and uncertainty, thinking and introspection should follow experience, not vice versa. Action changes who we are and what we believe is worth doing. Fortunately, there are ways of increasing outside and evolving toward an adaptively authentic way of leading, being a person. But they require a playful frame of mind. Think of development as trying on possible selves rather than working on yourself, which let's face it, sounds like drudgery. When we adopt a playful attitude, we're more open to possibilities. It's okay to be inconsistent from one day to the next. That's not being a fake. It's how we experiment to figure out what's right for the new challenges and circumstances we face. You know what? I didn't disagree with what they were saying, but that last part really actually resonates a lot, doesn't it? It's okay to be inconsistent from one day to the next. That matters, right? Because so often we're told you've got to be on your A game, day in, day out. And even if we're not told it, we think we have to be, because that's how we view everyone as being, right? That's not being a fake. So many of us, I think we have this kind of imposter syndrome. There are people who would do this better. Why am I in the position I am? Why am I trying to do the things I am? The truth is, you're not not being a fake. You're just not there yet. It's taking fake it till you make it and saying you're not faking it till you're making it. You're making it until you make it. If that makes sense. I think that makes sense. You know, you're making your way there as you're making it. You know? Anyway, this continues on. My research suggests 3 important ways to get started. Learn from diverse role models. Most learning necessarily involves some form of imitation and the understanding that nothing is original. That matters a lot. We'll come back to that. An important part of growing as a person is viewing authenticity not as an intrinsic state, but as the ability to take elements you have learned from others' styles and behaviours and make them your own. But don't copy just one person's leadership style. Being style. I don't know, I can't change that one. Tap many diverse role models. There is a big difference between imitating someone wholesale and borrowing selectively from various people to create your own collage, which you then modify and improve. As the playwright William Misner said, copying one author is plagiarism, but copying many is research. That, again, is really powerful. As someone who has been trying to write fiction, prose specifically, for ages and constantly struggles with the idea, is this original enough? I really needed to grapple with the idea. Nothing is original. It's okay to grasp from someone else, you know? To understand what went before. It's also really important to me because I have had struggles with, again, I've just spoke about this earlier in other videos, etc., but I have struggles with keeping on the path, you know, with being determined, you know, going through with something, you know, like at the moment I'm really struggling with my weight. I'm glad to say that because it's something that matters to me, and I really want to lose weight, and I'm trying very hard, and both my parents are really, they exercise a lot, and I can't find it in me, or couldn't find it in me for a long while to follow suit. And I thought, well, if they can do it, why can't I? And not even from the perspective of, you know, the typical adage of anyone can do anything if they put their mind to it. It wasn't even just that, it was the idea that, well, if I am in any way their child, right? I know that sounds really weird, by the way, but go with me. If I am in any way their child, then that is most surely in me too. And I think that change in perspective of like, it is in me if I want it to be, was really important. And I think it comes back to this, you know, if you see something of yourself or what you want of yourself in another person, you can make that a reality. You can make it your own. I observed the importance of this approach in a study of investment bankers and consultants who were advancing from analytical and project work to roles advising clients and selling new business. Though most of them felt incompetent and insecure in their new positions, the chameleons among them consciously borrowed styles and tactics from successful senior leaders, learning through emulation how to use humour to break tension in meetings, for instance, and how to shape opinion without being overbearing. Essentially, the chameleons faked it until they found what worked for them. Noticing their efforts, their managers provided coaching and mentoring and shared tacit knowledge. As a result, the chameleons arrived much faster at an authentic but more skillful style than the true selfers in the study, who continued to focus solely on demonstrating technical mastery. Often the true selfers concluded that their managers were all talk and little content, and therefore not suitable role models. In the absence of a perfect model, they had a harder time with imitation. It felt bogus. Unfortunately, their managers perceived their inability to adapt as a lack of effort or investment, and thus didn't give them as much mentoring and coaching as they gave the chameleons. So I don't think that's saying there. I don't think that's saying fake. I know they've said that in there, but I don't think it's saying fake it. I think it's saying you have to be ready to move with the flow. Because if you're not, if you're rigid and don't change and don't try new things, and don't evolve or be willing to evolve, then you're going to be left behind. I keep getting shivers, by the way, because it's really cold in here. If you're wondering, I am sat in a conservatory right now, which is really cool because it's really cold in the UK at the moment, and I don't have my heater on because it's really loud, and oh my gosh, I can't, I couldn't allow you guys to hear that. It's not fun. So I'm really cold. So if you see me go like this, it's because I'm cold and I'm shivering because I'm so cold. But yeah, so I think that's really interesting. They're saying if you're willing to not so much fit in, but if you're willing to go with the flow for a bit and then change that to work for you, sometimes that comes out better. I don't know if I necessarily agree on all accounts. I think sometimes I'd prefer to be the true to selfer. But it's interesting, isn't it? It's also interesting because I think our society is hardwired into accepting people who try and fit the norm. But the truth is, a lot of us don't. In fact, is there even a thing as a norm in some circumstances? Because are we all being that way, or are we all pretending to be that way? And then that gets murky and crazy, but that's another conversation for another time. Work on getting better. Setting goals for learning, not just for performance, helps us experiment with our identities without feeling like imposters, because we don't expect to get everything right from the start. We stop trying to protect our comfortable old selves from the threats that change can bring, and start exploring what kinds of leaders we might become. People. I keep saying leaders now. Of course, we all want to perform well in a new situation, get the right strategy in place, execute like crazy, deliver results the organisation, or whatever, cares about. But focusing exclusively on these things makes us afraid to take risks in the service of learning. In a series of ingenious experiments, Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck has shown the concern about how we all appear to others inhibits learning on new or unfamiliar tasks. Performance goals motivate us to show others that we possess valued attributes such as intelligence and social skill, and to prove to ourselves that we have them. By contrast, learning goals motivate us to develop valuable attributes. So what it's basically saying is, so often do we in life, and I think this is so true, so often in life do we panic about being right, being on point, that we won't allow ourselves to learn. And a lot of people say failure is the biggest learning force, right? If you fail at something, you learn it. I think the issue is, and I think why a lot of people stress about this more now, is that it feels like there is actually no room for failure. Because if you do fail, you'll just get replaced. or you'll just get pushed out, or you'll just get given up on. I mean, I find it ironic that they've said about don't be scared of failure on this page, but a page before they've said these people who failed to recognise the situation were basically left by their managers to deal with the situation. So I don't think it works in every circumstance. But as with most advice, right, I can give you advice today and it might not be the advice you need. Everyone's different, everyone has their own things going on. I suppose it's just about finding the nugget that matters to you. So if anything I say in here, feels resonant, then that's cool. If it doesn't, that's fine too. Whatever the situation, taking charge in unfamiliar territory, selling your ideas and yourself, or processing negative feedback, finding authentic ways of being effective is even more difficult in a multicultural environment. As my INSEAD colleague Erin Mayer finds in her research, styles of persuading others and the kinds of arguments that people find persuasive are far from universal. Is this book reading what I'm saying before I'm reading it? They are deeply rooted in a culture's philosophical, religious, and educational assumptions. That said, prescriptions for how leaders are supposed to look and sound are rarely as diverse as the leaders themselves. And despite corporate initiatives to build understanding of cultural differences and promote diversity, the fact is that leaders are still expected to express ideas assertively, to claim credit for them, and to use charisma to motivate and inspire people. Authenticity is supposed to be an antidote to a single model of leadership. After all, the message is to be yourself, not what someone else expects you to be. I've got to be honest. I find there's some really good pearls of wisdom in here, but of the books I've read so far, this feels the most contradictory, because not an article ago or a few pages ago, however you want to discuss that, they said basically pretend to be someone else, and then now saying be yourself. So I don't like this one as much, I've got to be honest, but there you go. But as the notion has gained currency, it has, ironically, come to mean something much more limiting and culturally specific. A closer look at how leaders are taught to discover and demonstrate authenticity by telling a personal story about a hardship they have overcome, for example, reveals a model that is, in fact, very American, based on ideals such as self-disclosure, humility, and individualistic triumph over adversity. This amounts to a catch-22 for managers from cultures with different norms for authority, communication, and collective endeavour, because they must behave inauthentically in order to conform to the strictures of authentic leadership. So basically, the article's saying, yeah, sometimes you have to be inauthentic to be authentic, which I think that one is talking a little bit, don't get me wrong, I am the first one to take on a lot of opinions when a book that's meant to teach you how to be an authentic leader is telling you to be inauthentic, to be authentic. Kind of lose support for the book, but still, some important points in there about self and kind of, I don't know how to put it, how to go about self, how to understand that it's okay to feel like an imposter sometimes, and it's okay to, what was that line again? It's okay to, I'm not going to find it now. Was it? Oh no. I can't remember it now. But it's okay just to be you, basically. Gosh, it was such a powerful line as well. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little, I wouldn't call it a ramble, more of a discussion surrounding authentic leadership, apparently. great time zone, great rest, relaxation, or otherwise. And thank you guys, as always.